Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, the weekly show where we introduce you to content creators of all shapes and sizes that join us from any and all corners of the universe, and we find out more about them by taking your questions. I am your host, Ryan of And I Quote channel, and our guest on this episode is someone who has visited this stage before. So guess what? We signed her on for multiple sequels, and this is going to be the first of, we hope, many sequels to come, and this is in her installments on the And I Quote show. Please welcome historical fiction writer Teri M Brown to the stage. Teri, welcome back. How are you?
I'm really great. Thank you so much for having me today, Ryan.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, Teri. And if you have any questions for Teri M Brown as you go throughout the course of this episode, by all means, let us know in the comments, let us know in the chat. More than happy to take those on as they come in. And also, don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. And if you're watching this live or what is known as a replay, we thank you so much for being here and being a part of this show, because we cannot do it without you. And we appreciate each and every single one of your support. I know I'm twisting my words a little bit. I'm sorry. But anywho, Teri M Brown, have you seen any historical fiction movies or TV series that have stood out to you? And if so, what are they?
So you're going to hate this. I don't watch a lot of TV.
That's sad.
Awful. I know. Well, my life is just crazy busy, and so I don't have a lot of time to sit down and watch. I know that the one that everybody's talking about that I have not watched, that apparently I need to, and I'm not going to even remember the name, the one where she's a doctor, goes back in time. Everyone's talking about it. Anyway, no, I really haven't, because like I said, I don't get to watch a lot of television. And when I do watch television, I'm watching it with my husband, and he likes loud military screaming, shoot 'em up kind of movies that are on, up at the 98 out of 100 level and the house rocks. So yeah, that's kind of...
Gee willikers, you got some homework to do as far as watching more historical fiction-based films or TV series. But that's all right. The name you're trying to think of, I can't think of it either. So if anyone knows, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat, because that sounds like a fascinating premise, I think is the word I was looking for.
So it's like a time travel one, and she's from this period of time, goes back in time, Scotland, I think maybe it is, and because she was a doctor here, she knows how to heal people, so she does that now in the past world. I can't even remember the name of it, but
boy, this is going to puzzle us for days to come.
I'll Google it in a little while.
Yeah, you'll Google it a little bit later on afterwards in the green room, and then we can talk about it later, or you can email it to us, whichever one works
that'd
best
be great.
for you, out of respect. But outside of your lack of knowledge about historical fiction movies and TV series, considering the fact that's the primary genre you write in, would you be willing to step outside of your comfort zone and write in a different genre, or are you going to choose to stay in historical fiction for the next 100 years?
No. I tell people that although my first 3 books are historical fiction, that I'm not a historical fiction author. I'm actually a character-driven fiction author. So I like to write a good character with a great arc. And I hope that my readers like to read great characters, and therefore wherever I put my character, you'll want to follow. So if my character happens to be in a historical setting, then you'll want to come along. But if they happen to be in a futuristic setting, you'll want to come along. And if they happen to be, in a modern today's society setting, that you'll want to come along. In fact, my next manuscript that I'm writing right now is a modern day woman, living. So it's not what I've been doing at all.
All right, step outside the box.
Yeah. I don't like boxes.
You don't like boxes.
I don't like being told that just because you've written 3, that now defines who you are. I'm an author that has stories in my head,
Mhm.
and I don't want to say, oh, well, that's a great story, but I can't write it because I'm a historical fiction author. I don't like that at all. If I have a good story that I feel is worth writing, then I'm going to write it. So yeah, it's probably author suicide, but we'll see.
Ooh, those are words I don't hear too often on these shows. But hey, there's something new for everybody, isn't that right? With experience, comes
Yeah.
knowledge. With gee willikers. With that being said, have you been to any book signings or book shows recently? And if so, have there been any special memories for you so far?
Yeah, so I did a book launch, like a party for when Daughters of Green Mountain Gap came out, and I was so nervous. I was so nervous that no one would show up. There's that I don't know. It's like that scary, you put it out there, you're all excited, you've got the venue. I'm always there so early. I'm there way too early because I'm just that person, I have to set up, and then I'm all set up, and then there's still like 30 minutes to sit there and get yourself all worked up. And it was like 6:15. This was starting at the doors were opening at 6:30, and at 6:15, and I thought, no one's going to come. I'm going to be here all by myself. I just know it. And the next thing you know, 4 women walked in, and they said, hey, since we're here early, can we go ahead and purchase a book? And I said, sure. And the line for the books never stopped. At 5 till 7, I finally had to ask everyone to step out of line that we were getting started. Afterward, the line filled up again. I ended up selling 62 books. I had 67 people there. They asked questions for over an hour. It was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I walked away from that. I tell everyone that I'm a really big fish in a really, really tiny pond. I live in this small community, and I'm starting to be known here. Nobody else knows me, but people here now know me. So that was really fun. That was a fun day.
Well, congratulations on that. And after hearing a story such as that, or an experience you just had recently such as that, I mean, our reaction is simply this.
Yes! That's awesome!
Yes, that is awesome.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It truly is. And congratulations on that. That is what am I trying to say here? Fantastic stuff, for sure. And speaking of which, let's talk about that new book that's out now. It's called Daughters of Green Mountain Gap. So how did this come about, and what is the synopsis?
Okay, so the synopsis, it's about 3 generations of women who are healers of various and sundry kinds in the mountains of North Carolina in the 1890s. The oldest is Maggie. She is what is considered a granny woman, roots and herbs and what I call a little bit of mountain magic. And her daughter, Carrie Ann, doesn't like the way her mother does it, decides that she's going to become a nurse. She actually travels all the way to Boston, becomes a nurse, comes back to her tiny town with a doctor in tow, with every intention of bringing modern medicine into the community. And her community doesn't necessarily go along. And that sets up this, problem between her and her mother. And Carrie Ann has a daughter who's kind of stuck between the 2 women she loves most, trying to determine, what is right and what isn't right. And what she realizes is that neither her mom or her grandma really have all the answers, because both of them lose patients. It's not like modern medicine is so far superior. How the story came about, you're going to laugh at this. It's because I had a wart on my thumb. Bet you've never had that said on your show before. So I had a wart on my thumb. I was at my primary care doctor for just a checkup. And I said, hey, while I'm here, can you go ahead and just, burn that sucker off? And I was told, no, you would have to go see a specialist. I thought, you've got to be kidding. So, of course, I headed to CVS, grabbed one of those little patches, and before long, the wart was gone. Well, a couple of weeks later, I was talking to my brother on the phone, and we were complaining about primary care doctors and how nowadays they pretty much listen to your lungs and take your blood pressure. And if anything is wrong whatsoever, instead of dealing with it, they send you to a specialist. And so I told him about the wart, and he said, why didn't you get someone to talk it off? And I said, what? And so he said, yeah, I got a friend that will talk off a wart. Well, I'll get to that. I am the person, I'm the gullible one in my family. Very gullible. People tell me stories, I believe them, and then for Christmas after Christmas after Christmas, I hear about, remember that time when we told Teri, So I wasn't falling for it. I just refused to fall for, the wart talking whole thing. But as soon as we got off the phone, I had to look it up. I had to know. And so I did. And guess what? There are people who can talk to a wart, and within the week, the wart falls off. I know, I'd never heard of anything like it before. So I continued doing, you're on mute. No one can hear you.
Well, that's just because I'm trying to respect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why. Okay. Little production note, but yeah, please continue.
Okay. So it was crazy. And I thought, so I started doing more research. Like I had to know more about this. Well, then I found out that there are people, like if you have thrush, that there are people who can blow in your mouth and the thrush will clear up. And that there are people who can talk to babies who are breech, so upside down, and talk to them and get them to flip, right? And the more I started digging into this kind of thing, it led me into granny women, who are the women healers in the Appalachian area of the mountains. And as I'm reading that, I'm learning all this great stuff, and this character like pops up in my head and lets me know her name is Maggie. And it's like, this is the story. This is what you're going to do. You've got to talk about this period of time. And that's where it came from. All because I had a wart.
Boy, the things that come to us when we're trying to come up with ideas for stories. And also hearing those things about, hey, if we can talk these things to death or help these situations turn themselves around rather than going to a physician or
right,
a doctor or a nurse or a hospital or what is known as a clinic for some reason. I mean, that's kind of like saying, well, when it comes to fact or fiction, or in this case, the truth, it's kind of like this, isn't it?
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
I mean, I can't handle the truth that you can talk a wart to death and then talk a baby into flipping over rather than taking it to a physician. So I can't handle the truth. I mean,
I think what's very interesting is, as I was doing this, I'm trying to, that's why I say there's like a little bit of mountain magic. It's like, it doesn't make sense intellectually. You can't say, oh, well, yeah, obviously you can just talk off a wart. On the other hand, we know, like, there's the placebo effect where people can be given a sugar pill and told that it is a painkiller and that their pain lessens. We know that this happens. And so there's something about our brains and our bodies that I think want to be healthy and want to be healed. And so it's almost like we can talk ourselves into it. And I don't mean always. I mean, there's diseases that are far beyond that. But I think for some of these little simple things, it's this belief that the person believes in the granny woman. They believe this granny woman can do what they do. The granny woman believes that she can do what she does. And that belief kind of like opens up the ability to have faith that this is going to happen, and therefore it does. It's interesting.
That's definitely one way to describe it. Another way of describing this interesting episode of And I Quote, which you are currently watching or listening to, I'm your host, Ron, alongside our guest, Teri M Brown, historical fiction writer, and apparently Misty Mountain Magic extraordinaire. Here on this episode, don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for Teri M Brown, let us know in the comments, let us know in the chat. And if you're watching this live or what is known as a replay, thank you so much for being here. Hope you're enjoying the Misty Mountain Magic that's been happening for the last X amount of minutes that we've been on set here. So Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is your third book now?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
It
so
is.
third time's a charm. So with your 3 books now available to the general public, of those 3 books, which one would you want to see turned into a major motion picture or television series, and why?
Ooh. Okay. So, well, all of them. But I think An Enemy Like Me, and the reason that I would want An Enemy Like Me turned into a movie first is because there is a lot of my family history in that book. It is not entirely my family, but I took a lot of things that were family history and meant a lot to me. And it's a little bit like my grandfather's and my father's story in a way. It's very I used a lot of my own, just imagination to make it bigger than it was. But I feel like that would be really awesome to have that just as kind of a way of a nod to my family, that look at what I put out here. Um Sunflowers Beneath the Snow, I think, would make an awesome movie, but I don't know that it would make an awesome movie right now because it's about Ukrainian women. And with the Ukrainian war going on right now, there's that, like, my book came out before the war, but only a few weeks before the war. And so it's almost like if you do the movie, then does it feel kind of creepy? Like you're trying to profit from some horrible thing that's going on over there. But I think it would make a great movie. This one would also make a great movie, my new one. But I think that if I had to say, if you said I could only have one, I think I would do An Enemy Like Me. Yeah.
And if you were also playing the casting director, who would you cast in the roles? Who can you see playing these characters?
Oh, I don't know. So the Bonnie is a very proper and beautiful and dignified woman. So who would you put as someone who's and she'd have to look really good in like a 1940s hairstyle?
Well, there's Emily Van Camp from
Okay.
from the TV series Everwood from the 2000s. She's grown up a lot. She's been in the MCU movies as a potential love interest for Captain America. She was Sharon Carter, aka Peggy Carter's niece. And then also there's Emily Blunt, John Krasinski's lovely wife, who doesn't seem to age a day, who always looks beautiful and proper, no matter what she's wearing, no matter what movie she's in. So I would say Emily Blunt would be a good
Okay.
choice. I think
Okay.
Emily Van
And
Camp
then
would be a good choice.
And then Emily Blunt, let's say that we cast her and now she's got a husband. He's going to go off to war, so he's got to look really good in the uniform, and he's handsome, but he's not like debonair. He's more like a down to earth kind of handsome guy.
You might as well just cast her real life husband, John Krasinski.
Fantastic. Let's do it.
They've worked together several times on different films, including A Quiet Place, which is a horror thriller franchise that they've been working on together. So just cast the two lovebirds.
I think that would be fabulous.
I think that'd be great. I think Krasinski has started to dive more into like dramatic stuff and more serious stuff because he comes from The Office. He's originally on the TV series The Office, so he has a background in comedy. But up to that point, he hadn't really done too many dramas. But now that he's had so much experience post The Office, he's done directorial efforts. He's done television shows like I believe it's called Jack Ryan on Amazon.
Oh
Prime.
yeah, I've seen all of those.
Yeah,
you can imagine I've seen all of those with my husband.
Okay, all right. Well, he's the lead character. He's Jack. He's Jack Ryan. He is Jack Ryan. So I can easily see Krasinski putting himself in that kind of role, and Emily Blunt is his real life wife. So I'm thinking they already know each other. They've been married for like 15 years. Just let them be in the movie. They're going to be just fine.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that.
And John Krasinski looks good with or without a beard. So he can, if the man has to be a certain look, John Krasinski can make himself look to be.
So he could have either, but once he goes into the army, he'd have to be clean shaven because that's what they do. And clean shaven, he can do it. Yeah.
He can do it. And John and Emily, if you're watching the show, which I hope that we hope that you are.
Oh, wouldn't that be awesome?
Feel free to contact Teri M Brown and let her know that you want to help her bring one of her books to stunningly beautiful life.
Absolutely.
Because that would be absolutely smashing. To be brilliant. Be lovely.
Sorry,
that's my horrible attempt at an accent. I'm sorry.
It was great.
Hey, I do have a background in theater, so I do my best. Although I'm not the best person at it. So, but then again, who's perfect, right? Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's
Let's try to
nobody.
keep that in mind as we go along. But outside of your book, that's going to hopefully be turned into a hugely successful movie or television series on a streaming service someday. Which, hey, we wish you all the best with that, Teri. When it comes to the historical fiction genre, that's a very niche, specific genre. Do you see more writers diving into that genre, or do you think it's going to become more niche and get a little bit smaller and more limited towards certain audiences?
You know, they've been doing studies there for a long time. People were not reading as much, and so the number of readers was disintegrating over time. Recently, we're having more and more readers. It appears that the younger generation is like diving back into books, and the two that the younger generation are reading are science fiction, which is not surprising to me, but historical fiction as well, which is a little surprising to me. But then again, I think that historical fiction is an awesome way to learn about history that isn't boring. Because there's so much. I hate to say that. I mean, I had some good history teachers, but I also had some really not good history teachers where you would sit and you'd get date and fact and date and fact and date and fact, and then you'd have to spit it all back out. And at the end of the class, what did you learn? Nothing. You remembered nothing because it was so boring. But then there were those teachers who could tell stories, and they could put you you felt like you were part of it. And if they had the ability to tell the story and to make you understand how things combined, and they could make you feel like maybe you were part of it, then it was a good history lesson. Well, that's what literature can do. You become these characters. And so maybe that's why the younger generation is looking at historical fiction. So with the fact that it's growing, I think what's going to happen is we're not going to just have historical fiction, but we're going to have historical romance, and we're going to have historical fiction that's based on true characters, and we're going to have historical fiction that is not based on true characters, but just based in a certain time period. And then we're going to have, they even now are having like historical fantasy. So it's a fantasy, but it's based in a historical setting. There's a lot of things that are starting to happen with historical fiction right now.
Excellent. And we're very thankful that you shared that with us on this episode of And I Quote with Teri M Brown. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know here on And I Quote channel. And if this is your first time here, welcome. And if you're watching this live or on a replay, thank you so much for doing so. If you want to have any questions for Teri, let us know in the comments, let us know in the chat. Just diving into the genre of historical fiction here for just another minute because it's too much fun to pass up. Is there a specific time period that you as a writer or you as a reader would like to see you or someone else dive more into that hasn't been explored nearly as much?
Yes. So, everybody does World War II. That's just, there's a good reason for it. There's a lot of material. There's a lot of things. I just read a World War II that was set from in Australia, and I didn't know a whole lot about the Australian involvement. So it was very interesting. So I think there's a lot that's interesting in World War II, but it's nice to see something outside of that. I personally, I don't know. I love American history. So, to find different points of time in American history, I think would be really cool. A book, around the time of like the Constitution being written, but not from the point of view of one of the signers, but maybe from the point of view of someone who is associated with one of the signers in some way, so that they see it, but you get a different point of view, something that you're just not used to seeing, maybe something in that. I read a good one the other day that was, it's called Red Clay Running Waters, and very, very difficult to read in terms of what you learned. It wasn't difficult to read. It was a great book, but it was about kicking the Cherokee off their land when they were still living in Georgia. And it was horrible. I learned a lot of history that I kind of knew like on an edge, but this gave you real history, and Yeah, it was very difficult to read. But I think those are the kinds of books that would be awesome, is to find those difficult periods in our history and then explore them. Because, what they say about history is if you don't learn it, you're bound to repeat it. So
I remember learning that back in school. I remember learning that from my history professors. We all know
Right.
this, right? We were there. We remember these sayings. But yeah, that's interesting you bring that up, because I just read a book. This is a Western story set during the people taking their wagons and their horses and going out west to settle on the new land, settle on the new land, seek a new life for themselves during those days. And I really liked it because it's when they were traveling along those trails, they're treacherous, and there are some people who weren't happy that more people were moving into their land and maybe taking it over, or maybe not asking permission, or whatever the case may have been. And I like hearing or listening to those kinds of stories, because you can play the video game Oregon Trail all day long, but you're still going to die from dysentery at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Hey guys, we're all going to die from dysentery in old school Western times. But if you read the stories of the things that people actually went, I mean, yes, dysentery was common back then, it still is, but I'm just saying that there's more to life than just being on a wagon for 2 minutes and then your family member dies of dysentery on level 3. Okay.
Right.
Like, people were really excited to move out and
Yeah,
start a new life and build these homes and build these families. And there's so many stories that have been missed, or not been discussed, I should say, in greater detail. And the story is called Rugged. It's written by Howard Donovan, if you want to look it up on Amazon.com. Great story. You can also find more details about it at stormgatepress.com. Check out that website. Really good stuff. I read that, and it's the first of many, because on the top of the book it says Rugged 1. So clearly there's going to be multiple sequels. But I read the book, Teri, and I thought to myself, these are the kind of stories that I want to read.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I like to do, is I like to look at not the big famous people. We know about those. I mean, when we've been in school, we've learned all about those people.
Yeah, we know about Paul Bunyan and Pecos Bill and all those guys.
Right.
We know who they are.
I want to learn about people that are more common. And what was their life like? Like, what was it really like to live out on the plains? What was it really like to cross the country in a wagon? What was it really like to, I don't know, even live in Philadelphia in the 1700s? Like, those are the kinds of things I think that are just fascinating, at least to me.
Yeah, I would totally read something about the city of brotherly love. It's the city that loves you back. It's always sunny in Philadelphia. Well, back then it wasn't so sunny.
No.
But nowadays it's always sunny in Philly. Yes, I've been to Philly, so I can say this. I go to conventions in Philadelphia, okay? Comic-Cons are a lot of fun out there in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But I will say, yeah, great points. American history, lots to be explored there. Obviously, with the migration out west, the Oregon Trail, all that stuff, the prairie roads, the wagons, the horses, the gunslingers,
gunslingers,
like all that stuff. Like, give me more of that and I will buy more of those books. So hopefully those of you who are writers in the historical fiction genre, or are thinking of diving into the historical fiction genre, we're giving you free advice.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I think the other thing I would like to see is historical fiction based in countries that we don't normally see it in. We have a lot in the European countries. We're very used to that, but you don't see as much in these smaller countries. You just don't see, and it would be kind of cool to learn more about what goes on there, or what went on there that brought them to where they are now. I think that would also be something that I would like to look into, is like, what are those stories? The other thing I think would be really fun is to take a the stories that are told, like the folk tales, and take one of those folk tales and then find the origin of that folk tale, and then go there into, because folk tales come about for a reason, and so to go to where is the origin of that, and then go forward. But
I feel like this has been one giant brainstorming session for all the independent writers out there, and we're just having a blast doing it, because listen, we're here to talk with Teri M Brown, but at the same time, we're also having fun discussing other pieces of the genre known as historical fiction, or things we hope to see in the near future. Who knows? anything is possible. And clearly, Teri and I are taking the advice that we got many decades ago, which is take a look. It's in a book.
Yeah.
So, which is fun to do, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
Just saying. There's a book over here on my desk. I haven't started reading it yet, but it's a sci-fi book that just happens to feature the words Star Wars.
Just
on it.
happens to.
Well,
Just,
one of the,
just by like total coincidence.
well, it's because the writer of that particular book is going to be at a convention that I'm going to next weekend, and I would like to read the book before I meet that individual. Her name is Delilah S. Dawson, who wrote the book Star Wars Inquisitor: Rise of the Red Blade, and it's sitting on my table.
It's right there.
Right there.
Like he can hardly pay attention to me because he's so concerned with that book.
It's literally right over here. It's off to the side of my studio. But anyway, I apologize. But what I don't want to apologize for is the great entertainment value that the person who's watching or listening to this is hopefully getting on this episode of And I Quote here on And I Quote channel with historical fiction writer and Misty Mountain Magic extraordinaire, Teri M Brown. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for Teri M Brown or myself, for that matter, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. And if you're watching this live on a replay, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. And yes, American history is a very wide area that you can explore in many, many different directions.
Right.
And we look forward to seeing what ideas that either Teri M Brown comes up with, or maybe someone who's a aspiring writer or current writer who maybe watching or listening to this may put something on paper. Who knows? Possibilities are endless. And Oregon Trail was a fun game to play back in the day.
Oh, it was.
I died every 2 minutes, but whatever. Floppy disk.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I've also played an Oregon Trail
board
back
game?
back before the floppy disk, the board game. So yeah. I'm a little older than you, Ryan.
Are you? I didn't think you were. I thought you and I were the same. Anyway, I digress.
Oh, you are so kind. What do you want? You're wanting something.
No, I never said that. And by the way, we're not making that intention here on set, but maybe we'll talk more about it in the green room. But free drinks and food for everybody.
I see.
With that being said, goodness gracious. Oregon Trail. Oh boy. Well, I tell you what, congratulations on this new book of yours. We look forward to hearing what happens with it, with the response to it, and everyone buying millions of copies of it, and you being on the New York Times bestseller list before you know it.
Wouldn't that be something?
It absolutely would. And you said you're in the process of writing what is known as a current manuscript. Any deets you can give us, or is there an NDA that prevents you from telling us the secret?
Oh, no. So, I don't know what your viewers will think of this, because it's a very, so totally different. But so there's a book that I read growing up that was recently turned into a movie. And it's Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Oh, yes.
So, okay. So all prepubescent girls read this book, and they were just, enthralled with it. I read it 4 bazillion times. Well, about the time that they started talking about the movie, I must have read an interview or something, and it, popped back into my mind. And I thought, I wonder whatever happened to Margaret. I mean, we watch her go through puberty and she's gone. Well, immediately the answer was she now goes by Peg and she's going through menopause. And I have this humorous look at menopause from Peg's point of view. She's in her 50s. She's recently separated. She's doing the online dating, and it's funny. It's just a very tongue-in-cheek look at whatever happened to Margaret. So that's where that came from. I don't even know what's going to really happen with this book, except that this character has been yelling at me for some time. And so I finally said, great, let's sit down and write your story.
Well, that is an interesting story that is going to turn out to be one, of course. And we hope the odds are ever in your favor.
Thank you so much.
So that is it. Whatever happened to that girl? Anyway.
So that's how I come up with a lot of my stories.
Just randomly?
Playing the what if, or
the what if game.
I wonder why, or what would it be like if that had happened 30 years earlier or 40 years later? Like, I do that, and I'll be I was walking along on the beach. I came up with an idea that I may still write. It's probably a young adult dystopian type. And I was walking along on the beach. I picked up a shell, and my thought was, what if this had been a message in the bottle? And then I thought, well, what would the message say? And what if the message said, your life isn't what you think it is. And
Okay,
immediately,
yeah.
you know, I start going. And so I do that. I play a lot of what if.
That's a story I want to read tomorrow if you're able to put
Okay.
that. It's
Okay.
easier said than done, but
Right.
whenever that happens within the
Okay.
process of writing, look forward to reading that when it does become available to the general public.
Okay.
I'd like a signed copy of that.
You'd like,
'cause
okay.
that
I'll keep that
sounds
in
like
mind.
fun. That sounds like fun.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I do. I listened to a song on the radio that got me thinking, and it was a country song, and it was something about one more minute. And then I thought, do you know that song? And so then I thought, well, what would happen if you did know you only had one more minute, like in life, or an hour, or a day, or a
24
month?
hours.
Yeah. And so, bam, a story started coming to my mind. Now, I actually have written on that one, but while I was writing that manuscript, my dad passed away.
Oh.
And when I've tried to go back to it several times, and I kind of look at it and think, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. So I don't think enough time has passed, but I will probably go back to that one. But, the point is that I find my stories because of things that are said to me, or, I had a wart and it created a book. And so I think that what that means is that if you are willing to listen and get still and let your creativity be the thing that is out front, there is no limit to what can be written. Because if I can write a story because I had a wart, then there are a lot of stories that can be written, right?
I would venture to say yes. And whenever you have an idea for something, the sky's the limit to where you can take that idea.
Right.
So,
right.
That's what I was taught many years ago. So, or whatever, whatever you're into, or if you're networking with other individuals who have the same kind of passions that you do, that never hurt
Right.
anybody. So with goodness gracious, sky's the limit. Let's play the song. No, I don't have it. But what I do have to let you know, Teri, is that this episode of And I Quote is indeed powered by our good friends at Poddex, that magical place known as poddex.com. Now, Poddex are what is known as unique interview questions and episode starting prompts located in the palm of your very own hand. So whether you are a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience or get more engagement, you're going to want to check out poddex.com. Use the code RYAN10, that's RYAN10, RYAN10 for 10% off your first order. So Teri, Poddex wants to know, what is the main thing that influences your decisions?
The main thing that influences my decisions would be my sense of right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like I weigh everything on, can I go to bed tonight and be okay with this decision? Can I sleep? Can I look at myself in the mirror? Will I be able to wake up in the morning and be happy with who I am based on that decision? And as long as the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is yes, regardless of which way you're going to go. And then I don't worry as much about it. Then it's kind of like more of just a personal preference. Like what do I feel? But a lot of times that's not what it is. It's there's a choice between something that you should do and there's something maybe that you want to do, but the should is really where you should be going. So, yeah.
Boy, the force is strong with this person. So I had to drop something in there because I like that franchise. What's the last thing that you've done that you were really proud of?
Done that I was really proud of. Oh, you're going to laugh at this.
Oh no.
So, no, I mean, I'm 60.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, technology it changes daily. I can hardly keep up anymore.
Yep.
And I had a friend send me a newsletter, and in the newsletter, you could click yes or no to a little, she had a little survey. And when you clicked yes, it took you straight to like an email. It was an email directed to her, and it had in the subject line, yes, I would like you to continue whatever. And I thought, how does she do that? I know how to get it. I know the mail to. where it allows you to, go to an email, but how do you get it to put a subject line in? So I did some research. This was yesterday. I did some research and I figured it out all by myself. And now I know how to do that. And I know it's so tiny, but it just felt so huge. And I said, it's a shame that I'm on a diet or I'd go buy myself a donut. It was just so exciting to me that I figured out this little trick for newsletters. So that's what it was.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, more power to you, and you learn something new every day in this world.
Yeah.
So well done. But the question is, does Teri M Brown run on Dunkin' kind of donuts or Tasty Cake kind of donuts? What are we looking at here?
I like Tasty Cake, I think.
Okay.
I mean,
fair.
Dunkin's are good.
Mhm.
They're good.
They've been around for years.
Yeah.
I mean, so does
Tasty Cake.
Tasty Cake's been around for like 150.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what was the what were the donuts I used to get all the time? I think it was Tasty Cake powdered sugar. Yeah, the white ones. Yeah.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those were addictive. Mm-hmm.
I like a good cake donut with a
Really?
like a drizzle or something over the top.
Ooh,
oh, those are yeah.
interesting.
Mm.
Okay. All right. Sponsors? Anybody? Let us know. Teri and I are looking for sponsors. Feel free to let us know in the comments down below or the live chat, whichever one that you're familiar with. Whichever sits you fancy. What do you do when you want to get out of your own head?
Oh, I go walk on the beach.
I wish I had a beach down the street.
Yeah, I go walk. So I live it takes like 15 minutes to drive.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But I go to the beach and I start walking, and usually the first third of the walk, my mind is just racing. And then I start to notice that it's calming down, and I begin almost breathing in time with the waves, and everything just, and then I'm out of my head, and then I don't know, like that's where I get a ton of my ideas.
And I wish I lived closer to the beach.
Yeah, the beach is an awesome place.
It is. It's serenity. That's what it is.
It is.
My family, we would go down to the beach where we used to live in Maryland all the time. It was called Ocean City, ladies and gentlemen. It's still standing. We would go down to Ocean City every summer, and those were the good old days. That's when life was simple and you didn't have a care in the world. You just enjoyed the beach. You flew your kites, you played with your the little green toy soldiers. Remember those little plastic things?
Oh yeah.
The little green tank. Remember the military tank? You remember you had your G.I. Joe figures or whatever. Like we had all that, and I had a Batman kite when I was yay high, and those were the good days. Those were the good days. Congratulations, at least one of us lives close to a beach. Rub it in my face, why don't you? So Poddex wants to know, it's okay, we still love you. Teri, were you ever really passionate about something, but then you just suddenly lost interest? And if so, what was it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been passionate about lots of things that I've lost interest in. I was going to be, as a kid, I was going to be an Olympic ice skater.
Tanya Harding?
Yeah, that lasted until I was, like 7. And then I was going to be a brain surgeon. And that lasted all the way into my first year of college when I realized I hated absolutely every class I was taking.
Oh, I thought it was after you watched an episode of ER.
No, but then I also realized in that same period of time that I don't like the sight of blood. And so being a surgeon really wasn't going to be my thing. Yeah, I mean, I think, don't we all do that though? Go through phases where this is the thing. I was going to play the piano as an adult, and I did start playing, and I can now, get a couple of tunes out, and that's about the extent of it. And I realized how hard it was and how much time I was going to have to put into it, and thought, there's other things I'd rather be doing. And so it kind of took a back seat.
Fair enough. To tell you a somewhat similar story, I had a passion for being a weatherman at one point when I was really young, and I thought I was going to go to Penn State and get a degree in meteorology, which is a specific area of weather. And then I realized you have to take advanced math and science, which are two subject matters that I'm not really that good in, and I think math is just evil. I don't want any part of it. And science I respect, because I took earth science and I took, AP astronomy, I think, at one point. which was fun. I like astronomy. I like certain areas of science, right? There are sublets of science, but advanced math and science courses, I'm thinking, no, weathermen just look at a script. Why can't I just read
Why
the
can't?
script? Like, all they're doing is you're on a blue or a green screen, right, Terry? And
Right.
you're reading off the teleprompter. I can do that because I'm an actor. I can,
Right.
you know, all you're doing is just giving people, relaying information to the person who's watching or listening to it, right? How hard can that be? Especially when you got your hands going up and down and you're wearing a suit and a tie every day and you meet the same people every day. It's like I can get into that routine. I prefer routine. I'm into it. But when I realized you have to take X, Y, and Z, I thought, well, there goes my career at the Weather Channel in Atlanta, Georgia. So
Right. So then you had to come up with something else.
I had to come up with something else, you know. And then when I was younger than that, I wanted to be an astronaut because I read a children's book called "I Want to Be an Astronaut," or what was it called? Like Astronaut Story by Gail Gibbons, who's a child author or children's book writer. Who, by the way, she was my favorite children's book writer growing up, was Gail Gibbons. If you don't know who that is, please do yourself a favor. If you have younglings, please introduce them to the classic stories written by Gail Gibbons online. I think they're available on Amazon or some other websites. And please check your local library or bookstores because Gail Gibbons is a legend. Okay. I mean, seriously, children's literature, Gail Gibbons is a legend. Terry, you may want to look that up later.
I will.
Anyway, those were my two aspiring career choices when I was younger. Weatherman is so easy, but then you're like, no, it's not. You have to be certified. You have to go to school. You have to do that. I'm like, you're just reading off a teleprompter.
Yeah. Well, and an astronaut, I mean, you talk about if you don't like math and science, you're never making it up into space because
NASA's not going to be calling me and say, hey, we're going to Mars. You want to go with us?
Hey, you want to go too? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going on a Mars rover mission, whatever it was. Something. What was it called? Like the Mars rover 2, 3, 4, and 5, whatever it was. I mean, even if they had a ship that can get us to Mars, which, by the way, doesn't it take us like 50,000 years just to get from Earth to Mars or something?
I don't know. I'm thinking it takes a long time.
My friend Anita, who's an astrophysicist, would know, and she's a indie sci-fi writer. Adina Mignona has been on our show. She's a member of the big sci-fi podcast on social media. Feel free to look them up. They're big Star Trek fans. So feel free to look them up. Great people. And Adina has been on And I Quote. You can find those episodes here on the And I Quote playlist, which is located on And I Quote channel, as well as the first installment of our discussions with, where am I pointing? This way, with Teri M Brown. So, which she's here right now on her sequel to And I Quote, which you are currently watching or listening to. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. And and also, if you're watching this live or what's known as a replay, thank you for being here. If you have any questions for Teri, including stuff about stories that haven't been written yet that she's got beating around in her head, let us know in the comments and let us know in the chat. But Poddex wants to know, do you like to plan things out in detail or just be spontaneous?
Okay, so it depends which part of my life you're talking about.
We're talking in general terminology.
Okay, so generally in my life, I'm a planner. I have little lists. I like crossing them out. It makes me feel really good to have a list and cross things out. When I'm writing, I am a complete pantster, which is somebody who writes by the seat of their pants. So there's plotters and there's pantsters, and I am a pantster, which is really funny because the rest of my life is so organized. And so I know what I'm doing every moment of the day and I have it all planned out and it makes me feel really comfortable. And yet when I'm writing, I don't do that at all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So does that mean you're like a bit of a mixture of both type A and type B personality?
Maybe, or potentially there's two personalities. Like, you know, it's, I told you I have voices in my head. So there could be all kinds of things going on.
Oh dear. Sounds like an episode of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde waiting to happen. Did anyone else read that story when they were children or see the movie or the different adaptations that they did of that story in movies, such as The Page Master with Macaulay Culkin? Because there was an iteration of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in that movie, even though it was an animated feature. Most of it. It was a mixture of live action and animation because the first half of the movie, he's a kid. And then the second half of the movie, he's transformed into an animated character. For those of you who grew up in the 1990s, you know what I'm talking about. So, Terry, if you haven't seen the movie, feel free to look it up. It's an interesting family adventure film is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
You and your family may enjoy it. You may not. I don't know. It was made in 1990. I want to say it was 93 or 1994. It was one of the two. Feel free to look it up. It's somewhere on a streaming service. Hashtag not a sponsor. But in that case, I do want to take this time to thank poddex.com for these incredible questions that we've been presented to Teri M Brown here. Hopefully they weren't too difficult to grasp. But you also want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Teri M Brown for being our guest on this episode of Anti-Quote. Teri, it's been great having you back.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a lot of fun.
And having these discussions. And we wish you the best of luck with your new book, Daughters of Green Mountain Gap, which is available now. Teri, if someone's watching or listening to this and they want to find out more about you and where to find copies of your books, where can they find you?
The best place is to go to my website, which is my name, www.terrymbrown.com, and that's Teri with one R. There you'll see all of the little links for my social media. I'm on everything. I'm not real good at everything, but I'm there. I also have a newsletter that you're welcome to join. I send a newsletter out twice a month. And I also have a contact me page. So feel free just to reach out on the contact me page and ask me anything.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on your new book. Congratulations on the exciting adventures that go on in your itty bitty little head every single day of the week and twice on Sunday. And also, thank you. Yeah. And we thank you for being here. Teri, fun fact, the Disney Pixar movie Inside Out, which is about the voices inside your head, Inside Out Part 2 comes out this summer. Finally, they're doing a sequel to Inside Out, one of the best Pixar movies ever made. So you're going to have to take your family and take your loved ones and go and see that, okay? I mean, you talk about voices in your head.
That would be great. Yeah.
Watch Inside Out on Disney Plus, # not a sponsor. And then go to the theater when it comes out, I believe in May I think it's May in theaters of 2024. And go and see the sequel, Inside Out 2.
Fantastic.
More power to you. With that being said, Teri, thank you so much for being here. We'll talk to you here again in just a moment. My name is Ryan of Anti-Quote Channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5 if you want to see what great stuff and craziness ensues. Also, we're this close to hitting 1,000 subscribers. And once we do, we're going through a great big live stream celebration. It's going to include returning guests, surprise guests, and some giveaways that you, our incredible subscribers and fans, can win, including 11x17 prints done by the art of John Pinto, including Star Trek Strange New Worlds. If you're a fan of that property, we got a print right here for you. Also, if you're a fan of Doctor Who, we got one with all the doctors on there. There it is right there. You could be eligible to win that. We can send that over to you. Or if you're a fan of the galaxy far, far away, also known as Star Wars, and I don't know, this big fella, also known as Darth Vader, I am your father. Anyway, no, I'm not. I can't back that up. But here's the 11x17 print that you could be eligible to win and hang up on your wall. Maybe Teri would like one of these. I don't know. It depends on what you're into. I'm just saying. But those are things you could be eligible to win. Also, if you want to support the show, we have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below. We like pizza. So feel free to support the show while supporting other content creators. Links are in our bio and in the description below. Also, the links to where you can follow Teri M Brown are located in the description below. We have merch. I'm wearing one of our t-shirts, and you can get shirts, you can get hoodies, you can get long sleeve shirts, you can get hats, you can get stickers, you can get things to put on your car, you can get water bottles. All that great stuff is located in our bio in the description below. And I quote merch is on sale now, so treat yourself. Treat yourself and get some merch. Maybe a shirt. I don't know. Whatever fits your fancy. But those are the things that are coming your way very, very soon. Also, new episodes of Anti-Quote are going to be on the weekends. The Nerdy Cantina is on hiatus right now. But movie watch along, our next one is going to be at the end of March. We're going to be celebrating the 25th anniversary of Disney's animated motion picture, Tarzan, from 1999. And it features one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. Why? 2 words. Phil Collins. Okay? Phil Collins. The man. Feel free to look it up. It's on the interwebs. So with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified our new videos go up or they go live. And remember, life is better when supporting other indie content creators and especially indie authors. Take a look.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics. Author Cindy Kep is writing on the edge. Books include Remnant in the Stars, The Loudest Actions, Lines of Succession, Mindstorm, Condemned Courier, the Yerushalayim series, and Animal Eye. Find author Cindy Kep at CKOEPP.com today.
Good morning. Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.